Hello everyone and welcome back to the TheMadeMan channel. And today on number 7, part number 7 of Loves Driving car for San Andreas, we're gonna be adding the interior to our car and possibly maybe do the second UV map thing, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, the interior is the main focus of this video. Leave a like and subscribe if you like the video, like the content. Of course, you can also support me via Patreon, maybe even $1 a month. $1 a month is already something that can help me as a creator. So, anyways, we're gonna be continuing our Asterope or Toyota Camry and all that. So, the interior in San Andreas, something more so like this. You know, these very blocky seats and flat door, and most of the time flat dashboard without much details. But sometimes on some cars there are like dashboards, but on the Previon it doesn't have one. As for the texture, it has its own separate texture from the rest of the car. It's obviously called the interior, and here is the interior, the default interior for the Primo, and so it has this one. For us, it's a lot of friendly car. Of course, you're gonna have to take interior from an existing San Andreas car, and so I took the Primo. You can actually mix and match textures using whatever image software that you use, you know. And here I mix seats and the door card. Is it door card? Whatever. The door texture with the Sentinel, with the bottom part, the dashboard, and other stuff from the Primo. As you can see, different seat, different door texture. But yeah, mix it up, name it whatever you want. I just named it like the normal San Andreas car. It doesn't really matter, but I name it like this. And so, as you can see, I've already applied it, but by default, it should look like this, right, for the Primo. So first thing we do, we go to the interior material using whatever car you imported. Go here, click on this little arrow next to the base color, and click on this folder icon, and just double click on the new texture that we made. So as you can see, the door and the door handle, no, the door and the seats have been updated. And so we start right now by go back to the chassis. We're gonna be separating out the door and the front windscreen. Okay, so we select the windscreen first and just separate it into a new part. Call it windscreen underscore okay. So okay, wait, what? Okay, because this one is called windscreen, but it just because we don't need this one at all from the Primo, you just rename it to something else. And yeah, windscreen. Okay, here we go. We have the windscreen separated. Now we need the doors, and so to separate the doors, you of course select it first. Let's do one door at a time, right? We select the, let's do the front left door, the driver door. So we select all the meshes that are on the door, of course. And we just separate to a new part. And as you can see, it's all been removed. And then we name this door underscore left front underscore okay. No, I mean door underscore LF for left front or underscore okay. And again, it's the name. Let me just rename this real quick. There we go. We have the left front door removed, and we do this to the rest of the doors basically. For this one, it's door underscore LR for left rear underscore okay. And there we go. Now we have separated all the doors, and just look at these names because you have to name it like this. The left front one is door underscore LF underscore OK, and then this one is door underscore LR underscore OK, and this one is door underscore RF for right front underscore OK, and then the last one is door underscore RR underscore OK for right rear. And so here we have the doors separated. Next step is to add door jambs, basically. Like you see this engine bay, we have these corners, and they essentially use the same texture. Well, they use the exact same material and texture as the engine bay corner. It's a door jamb. I don't know what it's called, guys. Again, once again, lacking vocabulary, but whatever. So to do this, we can just extrude the edges into the car. Just do it one-sided. Just do it for one side, and we can just mirror it later. So yeah. So let's start with the door jamb, right? We can let's choose one door. Just choose the left front one. Of course, show the chassis at the same time, and then we extrude the bottom vertices first. Something like this. Height, maybe a little too high. Something like this, and then we slide this one, slide this one. Not too much. What this should do. And then we mark it sharp on the corners, and then we grab it, move it inwards into the car a little bit. More, and this should do. And here we have the bottom part, and then we can let's do the front, not the front. Yeah, let's do the front side now. We can just extrude this one up, so we have the inner part of the door, something like this, and then we align up like this too. Okay, this will be the interior texture, and then we just fill this up. Maybe this is a little too thin because the top is like, it should be like deeper than the top, like this. The windows, I mean. Alright, now that the bottom part is on, we're gonna continue up around and around the window, and so yeah. We basically do the same thing again. Okay, now that we have the mesh created, we're gonna start mapping the door itself, I guess. So we can start with the easiest part. We do this door interior, whatever it is. We go here, we assign the material, and just map it from the right side of the car. So yeah, we map it from the right side of the car on the interior texture with the material, and we just align it to here basically. There we go. Now we have this part textured. We're gonna be moving to the corners of the window, and these sections are usually mapped onto this part of the interior texture. Oh, of course, don't forget to actually assign the correct materials. right? We have this section map. We're gonna do the actual door jambs. And of course, first thing to do is to select these, select them, and assign the correct material, which should be primary.001. So, at least on my car, because as I mentioned a bunch of times now, every imported car has the different material names for each part. So, yeah, this one is the door jam, so generic texture plus primary color assigning. So, yeah. And now we just map him just like the engine corner over here, basically. For this part, it's usually mapped to this flat section. Meanwhile, in this one, the front and the rear, is usually mapped to this section, basically. And the rest, probably this top one. So yeah. And there we go. Now we have the front door jam and door interior done. We just now select only the door jams. We duplicate, we detach from the door. Now we have this part here. So we're just gonna also flip the normals. And here we have one door jam. So next thing to do is essentially what I did to the front door, which is the door texture and the door jam added to the rear one. And so yeah, and then we duplicate and mirror all that stuff. So I'm gonna just do the rear door now. There we go. Now we have done the rear door. So the first thing to do now is to just duplicate all the stuff that we just made for the passenger side. So what we have to do is we select all the new parts. Shift D to duplicate, and we separate it from the car or the door. Now we have the new part, which is just the interior, and we just mirror this to the other side. So go to the object mode, select it, Control M to mirror, do it in the X-axis, and then we select all the meshes, Oh, I missed one part. Hold on a second. There we go. And then we select all the faces in edit mode, flip the normals, and then we just join to the door. There we go. Now we have the right door done. Right rear one at least. So might as well also just change smooth the faces. Do the same for the left side. Change smooth. There we go. We can do the same thing for the front door basically. There we go. Now we have the doors itself done. We also need to do the door jambs, and this is what we separated earlier. We can do the same for the rear door. Just do on the left side. It's fine. So select only the door jambs. Duplicate again. Separate. Hide the door. And now also we need to alternate flip. Okay. Flip the normals to outside the car like this. And so we join them together. Add a mirror modifier. Dragging up to the top, apply it, and then you join to the car, and also merge by distance. And do the same for every door actually, I forgot about this. Merge by distance on everything. Merge by distance. There we go. And now we have our door jambs added. We can actually start with the interior part. Now there are multiple ways you can go with this, but personally I start with the rear seats right away. So we can let's just take seat from the Primo and just apply it to our car. So something like this. We select these parts and we separate it from the Primo or your car. Then we put out, and then we resize it to the car. So you do this. Scale x-axis. We also move this one to this vertex. So do this. Okay, wait. Something like this. Do the same for this side. And then now we can, okay, we also need to do the top. Something like this. Then we connect them to the door jambs. And so we also need to just scale this up a little bit. The sides, there we go. And now we can fill in the sides of the seat. So we can just extrude vertex to here. The same again. Now for this one, don't forget to mark them sharp. And do the same for the other side. Make sure it has a correct material. Of course, maybe also remove unused slots because we don't need them. And then we select both sides to map at once. You can also map the top again because with the new textures it doesn't look right. So we can just remap these. Yeah, that should do. And then now we have the rear seats installed. We just need to actually like join with the car. There we go. We merge by distance with the vertices. And so now we can, okay, before we go any further, there are some, I don't know why it happens, but if you leave this glass object the same as the chassis, a lot of the times there will be transparency problems. You see the doors will be invisible, or like the steering wheel will be invisible, and that's some kind of bug that I actually have yet to find a way to actually fix it. Only ways to work around it, and there's one way of using like a custom texture, but I don't use that. I usually just separate the glass and any other, like, you know, transparent material, which is probably on my car, also the headlamps, to a separate object. This will break compatibility with SAMP, I believe, but it's how I do it. I don't really intend for these to be supported in SAMP, so it doesn't matter. It's just separate it and just call it glass, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, if you want it to actually support SAMP, I think there's like textures that some modders use. I don't know who has used it, but they use a custom texture with a specific transparency setting that will prevent the steering wheel or like the doors from disappearing. But yeah, I prefer separating the object so I don't have to add more texture to my file. So yeah. Anyways, back to the topic. We separated the glass, and now we have to add, what do you call this area? The C pillar and this little section between the seats and the rear windscreen. So yeah, it's a pretty simple flat section. And now we apply the texture by using the interior, and you will map it. On some cars they use the dashboard for this, but in this texture it's not really viable, so I usually use this section. So yeah. There we go. And we can do the C pillar next. And now we map him to this section. So yeah. Now we can do the B pillar. And it uses the same. We map it to the same place in the texture again, basically, in two separate sections. There we go. Now next up, we're gonna add the ceiling or roof for the interior. So we can just essentially just copy the roof and move it down and adjust it to the shape. So just follow along. And while we're at it, we also can just do the A pillar. We just assign this to the interior texture again. And let's do the A pillar first, which is the same as other pillars. Now we map the roof. We should use this section, which is basically the headline, I believe. So the proper use for this section of the texture, potentially. There we go. We just have one half done. We can just detach it from the car, apply a mirror modifier, and then we just join it back to the car and merge all vertices by distance. And there we go. we have the roof and the A pillar done. Now we can add the dashboard, basically. So to add the dashboard, we just take the dashboard, of course, from the Primo, and we just separate it and just apply to our own car. Now this dashboard, we have to also add the side of it. So extrude like this, and then also change to edge snapping and extrude down to something like this should do. Yeah, this should do. And then we just create faces, basically. We can just also duplicate it to the other side by duplicating mirror by x-axis and snap to here. Or fit the normals and merge vertices by distance. And we can just texture this part. Don't forget to get the right materials for it. Use this little section for it. Nice. Now we add the top of the dashboard. So we just join this with the car, the chassis, and merge by distance again. And we just add faces here. There we go. Now we add the rest, the floor, and the bottom of our dashboard, basically. There we go. And then we just map with the interior texture to basically the same location, I guess. There we go. Next step is we just take outer parts. So we'll save the front seat and the steering wheel for last, because that really is quite an important thing. So we just take this rear view mirror, first of all. Detach it from the Primo. And then we just attach it to our car again, like always. So first of all, we have to move it, of course, to the right location. Make sure it doesn't actually poke through the front windscreen. Yeah, that should do. And then we just join this with the rest of the car. There we go. Next thing to take from the Primo is the center, whatever it's called, console, I don't know. Just take it from the car that you imported. And we again adjust the size and just join it with the rest of the car. There we go. Now we just join it with the rest of the car. Okay, here comes the next step on a car. It's perhaps the most delicate, or you could say annoying part of the interior. It's lining up the front seat and the steering wheel. So what you can see here is a really useful file from, and they actually extracted all the tallest ped, which is I think the Sandfield River guys, and also the most like biggest CJ. So CJ, when CJ has max fat, I guess, and an afro in those various animations, and so we're gonna be using this one, which is normal CJ, normal animations. Not his, that's also the modded version, but here for our purposes, we'll be using the default animations. So here are the stuff that we need. So, okay, what we do here, we go back to our file, we import the DFF that I just show you guys. Go here, and now we have a bunch of stuff. But of course, the only things we need are these three ones. We just join them together first of all. Okay. First thing, we just join. There we go. We just remove from the collection and we delete the whole collection. There we go. Now we have the CJ that we need. Normal animation. We move them to the desired place that we have CJ. No, we have the pets driving the car, basically. And this is essentially why I have mentioned about, you know, having to scale up your car by like 10 to 20%, because this is the problem. The pets won't fit if you have the real size, especially with compact cars. So yeah, that's why we have this big car. So we move CJ to driving position. We also, of course, show the left front door, and as you can see, his afro hair is poking through. Make sure it doesn't poke through the door and the rest of the car. You know, you have the feet might be sticking through the roof. You know, just make sure it doesn't happen. And now we have CJ in the right position, right? We hide it. Now we can go take the seat and the steering wheel together from the Primo. We only need driver's side seats for now. So detach both of these. Separate it from the car. And then we, of course, move it from the hierarchy of the Primo. And we just line it up with CJ. So let's do the seat first. There we go. We have lined up our steering wheel with CJ and the seat, of course. We can now, this is optional, but I personally don't like this. You know, you see this part, this stick that connects the steering wheel with the interior. It doesn't look like it's like 2D, you know, faces. I don't want that. I want like a 3D stuff. So we just create faces, I guess, and we delete the old one. There we go. We have this stick for our steering wheel, and also we can match the steering texture with an actual something that we want. You know, you look at the rear interior, and we can go here. This is important, right? When you actually want to change the steering, it doesn't show up for some reason. So if you want to change the steering wheel texture, which is go to a particular view, project from view again, and then we mirror one side. No, this. There we go. Let's just choose one. I'm gonna use one that fits. I think this one fits the best. Looks more similar, more similar to the Camry. And so this is only for the steering wheel, right? We have to go here, UV, and go round to pixels, center. This is to prevent the texture from bleeding. So you have like floating stuff in the corner that doesn't look, or like a gap in the middle, it doesn't look very good. So we turn it on, UV, round to pixels, center, and we just move the vertices around. Oh, move like this. and then we turn it off to disabled. So we have this now, our steering wheel. So yeah, this applies to all of these textures, every single one of these. You have to turn around the pixels on to prevent problems. There we go. Next up, we have to duplicate our, no, maybe, let's just mirror the whole object, which is the steering wheel and the seat. We can just mirror with the modifier. Where is it? Mirror. Here. Apply it. And then we delete the steering wheel on the right side. Oh, actually, no, don't delete it yet, because we need to line up CJ to this side, because for whatever reason, Rockstar actually put the pet seat dummy on the right side instead of the left side, which is where the steering wheel is. Probably because they're British and all that. I don't know. We just move it here. Line it up. Then we leave CJ alone. It doesn't matter if CJ's head pokes through this side, because it's not mirrored. So yeah, and then we delete this steering wheel because we don't need it anymore. And now we attach it to the car, and this is basically it for the interior. It's done. It's all done. So next up, we need to add just a little more details to the car. What we're missing right now is gas cap, the exhaust, and the rain, what windshield wipers. Yeah, windshield wipers. So we can just take this from the Primo. On some cars, probably the rear wheel drive ones, we also have like the drivetrain going here, but not the Camry, because the Camry is a front wheel drive car, so we don't need that. So, or some cars are dual exhaust, so of course we're not using dual exhaust on a Camry. Come on. So and just detach all the stuff that I just mentioned. Now we have this detached. We also need the exhaust object, which is separate because it is separate to support the tuning parts, the dummy position. So we have to also move it with the rest of the stuff we just took of the car. Move it from the Primo, and then we move this to the correct positions, basically. So first thing to do is to move the exhaust in object mode, both the exhaust and also the exhaust object. Now we can just adjust the rest of the vertices. If the shape of the car is curvy and it pokes inside, we can just, you know, subdivide it like this and just move the vertices. There we go. Exhaust and the gas cap is done. Now we move to the windshield wipers. So select them, show the windscreen, and just line it up like this. So now it seems like something's wrong with the windshield wipers. You see here, it's supposed to be like this, but it's like full black. So it's some kind of problem in the mapping. We can just remap these ourselves. We map it to the same like texture part that is used on the window seams. So yeah, right here. Seems like it's also a material thing, so we just apply to the correct material. There we go. and then we just join it with the rest of the car. And now the next thing that we'll be doing, of course, we're still missing the license plates, but we can add them later. But right now, what we're gonna do is add the reflection mapping to the car. As I mentioned before, that in San Andreas, the mapping is done in 2 UV channels, and the second channel is for the reflections, mostly on the body pin, and also some cars that have chrome body parts, like chrome bumper. But as you can see, we don't have much here, so we'll just map in this scenario. I will just show the mapping of the body pin. So show everything of the car. We can hide the CJ Loves Driving thing for now, and we can just go through each object in where is it? Here, select each object from top to bottom in the list. Go to Object Data Properties and click on this UVMap.001 and do this for all the parts. There we go. And now we select every object, go to edit mode, select every single faces, and we map from the left side of the car. This is important because if you map it on the wrong side, the reflections will just be flipped, of course. Map it from the left side of the car. Project from view and choose texture. If it doesn't show up here, we can open in the materials folder, select X vehicle.env, and here's the texture. I mean the material. And I think I kinda forgot that the wheels shouldn't be in here. We only need the car, everything but the wheel. So do the same procedure. All objects in edit mode, select all faces, map from the left side. And open the texture, and it's usually something like this, basically. I think this should be the correct mapping. It's like up half of the car is on the blue side, other on the brown side, and this should be it. And don't worry if it looks completely screwed, because we are showing the second UV map, and so we can now it has been mapped properly. We can just go back to the first UV map. Seems like I made a mistake on the exhaust, so I have to fix it. So basically, if you do the second UV stuff, do not use the exhaust because I kinda forgot. I have to map them again. Not great. There, I have fixed the exhaust. I kind of forgot that it doesn't have second UV map, so the mapping got overwritten. So, yeah. And anyways, back on track. And now we have mapped the reflections. We're gonna be moving to the last step of this episode, which is adding panel gaps. And so, before that, we should save to another file because this is irreversible. There we go. Let's start with something simple. A front bumper, right? So gaps in San Andreas aren't really that complicated. You just need to add a little bit of a gap, I guess. So we just move something like this. Oh. Make sure to select them in the, of course, X-ray mode, because we need the whole both sides to actually be moving. There we go. And yeah, it's essentially something like this. It's not, we just add a gap to the panels, literally. And same is done for all different parts of the car except the windscreen, of course, and the separate glass that we made. We don't need to add that. Just only add them to the parts that actually separate, like has a hinge or something. So yeah. There we go. And this is all the gaps that we have done, we have added. So yeah, that's the whole finished product of this episode. To recap, we added the interior right here, and we also added the second UV map and panel gaps. Next video will be about damaged parts, and maybe the extras, parts that can alternate on spawns, but we'll see what I can do. But yeah, thanks for watching the video here. Leave a like and subscribe if you like the video. Check out my workshop, support me via Patreon and all that stuff. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.